when we talk about healing, we don't necessarily go straight to sound, but sound healing is one of the most innovative and most popular therapies that is coming out there. I know that when I was going through an illness, my illness actually got cured through sound therapy. And on today's show, we're going to be speaking to a pop sensation who has now become a healer in herself. Hi, this is Joey Buzzertool, and welcome to the Secret Men's Business Podcast. And today we've got a very special person. I'm very excited. We have got someone who's not just a healer, but is someone that you're going to remember from way back. We've got Katie Underwood. Katie, how are you?
Hello, I'm really, really well, Joey. How are you?
I'm a daggone mate.
Good. Yeah, no, it's good. I love it. I love it.
Can I tell you a secret?
Go on.
I listened to your album this morning before I rang you.
Which one? I've got a few now. So
the first one.
The old stuff, as in the pop stuff.
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, and I was just dancing, going, yay.
Well, hey, if it makes you happy, I'm happy.
Of course I'm happy. I love retro. But look, I'm sure lots of people recognize the name and they'll know who you are. But for those people that maybe have been sleeping under a rock, do you want to just give us a bit of a quick overview of who you are?
Of my life. All right. So I've done lots of things over the last 20 years, but I rose to prominence, I suppose, in the band Bardo back in 2000 when I was a reality TV star before we knew what that all was about. So became quite insanely famous for a couple of years. Continued making some music, made some dance music with a band called Disco Montego. My song Beautiful was still fondly remembered by many, coming up to its 20th anniversary, I think, this year or next year. And then I did a number of other things, recorded some more music, and then I fell off the music industry scene, kind of lost its shine, like a lot of people in the music business, got burned by unscrupulous types. And, the energy in the music business is really not always that good and not easy to deal with. So fast forwarding a few more years from that, I realised that being in the music industry was not something I was into, and I wanted to change into a more supportive, positive industry. So I shifted to the wellness industry. So 2010, I retrained myself as not myself, but I got training as a remedial massage therapist. So I've been working as that on and off for the last 10 years. And then over the course of that career, as it began to evolve and blossom, I also picked up Reiki 1 and 2. I picked up meditation teacher training. And then 6 years ago now, began my training into sound healing therapy. And I've done multiple courses and things, and people can check that all out later. But the long and the short of it is I was able to finally combine my passion and love and skill for healing with my natural talent and experience with music. And now I weave it all together in a magical combination. In my private practice, I work with people one-on-one, doing massage, Reiki and sound, which is totally blissful and restorative and healing. And then I do larger events where I do sound journeys and I guide group chanting. And that might be for 15, 20, 40, or even up to 250 people that we had at the last Seven Sisters Festival here in Victoria. Wow. So, yeah, it's a wild and wonderful journey. I love every day of it. And I feel so blessed that I've been able to create a life that I love every day.
I love that.
So
and I'm going to take all of that and actually explore it, if that's okay. So,
of course.
Look, this is a predominantly men's podcast. It's about mental health.
Yeah.
I think that because it's on the forum, it's on an open forum, I think what I've noticed is that a lot of women also listen because they may have partners or friends that are going through it. So
sure.
Can we just shortly explore when you were in Bardo and you were in that the pop industry and then the music industry and you pulled back?
Yeah.
It's funny, I've been speaking to actors that said exactly the same thing as you, right? So I just wanted to ask you, in that time, did you observe or did you experience mental health? Like back then, how did they treat people that were maybe stressed or anxious, or how did you do that? How did you deal with all that fame? Like, or did you not become aware till later?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot in that, and I'll answer as best I can. So this may have changed, although I can't see that it has changed a lot. But music industry is sort of known stereotypically as, rock and roll lifestyle. That's the stereotype associated with it. So it's assumed that everybody drinks and maybe half the people smoke and maybe more than that. And that all of these things are not only tolerated but encouraged.
They're like
Like
normalized, aren't they?
they're normalized. And look, not that I want to demonize people who enjoy a drink and a smoke and something more, but I'll tie into how that's relevant in a minute as to its impact on mental health. So I described the bizarre nature of the music industry to someone once by describing the concept of an artist rider. Now, for those who are not in the music industry, a rider is the term given to basically the list of things that you want in your backstage area, including alcohol, that the promoter or manager or venue is supposed to provide. And that this is provided before you go on stage. So, I said to someone, how weird would it be if you rocked into your job at the NAB or the local chemist or wherever it is you work or your physiotherapy practice, and your boss says, so Joey, 4 bottle of vodka today, couple of beers, what do you need? Like, for real, that's what is happening. And I think the fact that it's not only accepted but encouraged that artists are supposed to keep drinking when they already have probably drug and alcohol issues, which are a direct result of not dealing with the fact that they really are anxious, depressed, overworked, isolated, and all of these things. So for me, my experience with working with people in the industry and mental health. So I also worked as a massage therapist in a drug and alcohol recovery centre. So although I'm not a man and I can't speak on behalf of men, I certainly worked with many of them that came through the centre with varying drug problems. And 90%, 99% of the time, drugs are never the problem. They're a symptom of another. Right, they're a symptom of another problem that's not going on. Someone comes in, they're presenting with an addiction to crystal meth, but the problem is they're overworked, or their marriage is breaking down, or they have a health problem and don't have enough energy, and so they're using it to self-medicate, and many other things can happen. So, the drugs and alcohol are the symptom, but the problem is that there's no support for people. Now, having said that, I've had a couple of people in the industry, men in particular, where their managers or their record companies have sent them into a rehab centre to get cared for, but it is only to protect their product. And that once that person is fixed, they get sent back out on the road, overworking, exposure to drugs and alcohol, stress, isolation, all of the things that are going to impact and increase that issue. So how did I deal with it? Well, you know what? The first and best thing I did was to get the fork out of that business, because I realized how damaging it was for my health. I was already drinking. At that point, I didn't really see it as a problem, but I knew that if I wasn't touring around with other rock and roll musos, I wasn't going to be tempted to be drinking, to normalize my 12 o'clock drink at the airport while I'm waiting to go on my flight. Like,
yeah. And can I say, and please, I'm just telling you what I saw. Like, when we saw your clips, you came across as the most fierce and most, like, out there fun person. So people could eat. I know I assumed that, oh my God, I want to go out with her. Like, she looks like fun. So did anyone
lots of people had that thought, and I took them up on it as well, believe me. But,
was it hard? Was it hard because there was 5 of you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, versus you alone? So if one person in the group says, I'm going to do it, did you feel pressured?
Well, no, because none of the other girls really drank, if that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, so, that's what I'm referring to.
No, I think actually the end result of that is that because I couldn't socialise with them, I would end up just hitting the bars randomly on my own, hooking up with randoms, they go, hey, you're Katie Underwood. And I'd go, yeah, so let's just park that and have a good time. And I would. And so I met some amazing people, but, had some pretty crazy tearaway weekends where you'd end up at some person's house in the middle of bloody Sydney going, how did I get here?
Yeah.
But this was a result of me, I felt isolated. It was great being in a group with the girls. There were lots of positives and there were negatives as well, but strange sometimes when you're in a group and you feel that you're not connecting properly, you feel even more lonely.
Yeah.
than when you're actually alone. So,
Mm.
yeah, look, there's multiple triggers when you're working in that sort of business.
Yeah.
But the best decision I made for my mental health was to go, I'm done with that. I don't know that I'm done with music, but I'm done with doing it that
That way.
way.
Yeah.
And that was the best move for me.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that. And like,
Yeah,
I think that you've just shown a very clear blueprint of you could, I know that you were famous, but the reality is that anyone could sort of tell that story. It's when we get to the point of being bored, that's when we change it. So
that's right.
let's just begin about the fame and I just want to know what music means to you in regards to how, because I'm not a musician, right? But I always sense that musicians see or feel different because they've got something different. So what does music do for you? Like, do you reckon you could live without it?
Music, no. I would say that music possibly was my first language.
Yeah.
Because from all reports from my parents, and I do even remember, I was always singing something, like even as a baby, like blathering singing, singing non-words. So even before I had the words to sing anything, I was still making musical sounds. I remember my sister used to hate me at bedtime because I would, when we shared a room, and I'd be the annoying little sister that was sitting in bed thinking I was being quiet, making up these little songs going, I'm so happy and the clouds are in the sky. Some sort of lame-o, 4-year-old song. She'd like, shut up.
Did you know
So
that you were doing that? Did you realize that it was different? Or was it
she
normal?
just knew,
No,
I
you,
was,
for you.
did
When you were,
I
yeah, did you feel like it was just normal or did you know that you were different?
no, I didn't know I was different as a kid. When you're a kid, you just take yourself on face value. You just think, I'm happy to be alive. I'm going to sing a little song about it. I mean, it didn't seem, I didn't feel different. But yeah, so music's always been a part of my life. I started learning instruments at 6. Thanks to my parents' support. They got us piano lessons and I took to that like a duck to water. So that was great. And then started vocal training, I suppose, when I joined my school choir at about
Yeah,
11. And then that
cool.
continued for another 5 years, and I was in lots of choirs and continued, with piano and picking up other instruments. So, yeah, it's always been in my life. It's been in and out when it comes to career, but
But it sounds like it's
yeah,
always going to be there, isn't it? It's part of you.
it's in my blood. It's just,
Yeah.
it's as I said, it's like my first language. If I could say English is my second language, music is my first.
I've never heard anyone say that before. That's actually no, but it's really cool because it actually makes a lot of sense. You've actually just explained something so simple with a simple answer because people give you all these sort of answers, but that answer is really clear. It's like it's your first language, so that's where your
Yeah.
mind will go to.
Well, I
So
found I would often struggle to, in relationships in particular, I would struggle to express my emotions verbally, but I could put it in a song in a heartbeat.
wow.
And it just, I'm able to express my emotions with much more fluidity and
Mm.
continuity than I ever can. Now, I'm 45 now, and I've done the work. Oh my God, I've done so much work on myself. So now I have no problem expressing myself. But for many years, particularly in my 20s, I really, really struggled. But music always helped me.
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of opened that door.
You do realize that it's actually the universe is actually telling you to write a musical, right?
Is it?
um, so when you transitioned from pop star to healer, I know that
Yeah.
you said that you trained yourself, but was there any critical moments that made you experience the desire to become a healer, or do you think that was always also in you? Like,
Look, it probably was always in me. Like I remember, my mother was a beautician in the 80s. It was one of her early careers, and so she used to do some massage for her clients as well as other beauty treatments. And I guess I was one of those kids. One of my love languages is acts of service. I like to do things for people. That's how I express my love for people. So I wanted to learn massage, and she taught me a few basic, simple strokes to
yeah,
use that could be applied anywhere on the body at 9 years old. And then
wow,
when we would go away on family holidays, and we'd go away with lots of other families, and our routine is that at night we'd all sit around the campfire and roast marshmallows, that sort of stuff. It was a great time. But I used to love offering the adults a little shoulder massage. And they'd give me $1 maybe or two, or maybe just say, thanks, Kate, that was really amazing. And I just felt so great that I was able to have an effect on
Yeah.
these people. So really, it wasn't that surprising. It might have taken me another 20 years to come back around to go, oh, massage, of course. That desire was always there. Now I just need the formal training, and so
Yeah.
I did that. And so I think sound healing falls into the same category. Music was always there. Obviously, I have a talent for it. I've learned to not be shy about saying that now, and but to be able to use my skills in music in a way that is much more supportive of others, as opposed to look at me, which is what
Yeah.
the music business is about. It's about
Yeah.
selling
Yeah.
a product and selling personalities and selling
Mm.
albums, whereas what I'm doing is I sell an experience.
Yeah, I realize, like, I'm a sound healer myself. Until I
Right,
went,
yeah.
until I experienced your class, I realized I'm not a sound healer.
Oh, no, I'm sure
No,
that's
no,
not
no.
true.
It's what I mean by that is that I have the intuition to play the bowls and all that, and but what you have that I realize you need is the music ability because you take it to
Mm,
another level, right? So I'm a
yeah.
big advocate of sound healing. Like I said in my introduction, I had a chronic autoimmune condition which caused me not to walk, and I
Mm,
tried everything, and sound healing is what fixed me. Right? It was
wow,
amazing. So
amazing.
can you explain to the audience what sound healing is and maybe what the benefits are? Because a lot of people look at me and go, "What? A sound? How does that do? What does that do?" So, how would you explain it to the audience?
Yeah, so I think sometimes people get stuck on the phrase sound healing, and perhaps it's a little misleading because it implies that the sound itself is what does the healing. But there's a few more steps in between the sound and the healing. So, my meditation teacher training was very helpful for me to really understand the benefits of meditation. So, let's start there. So, when we begin to meditate, any basic form of meditation involves what? Slower breathing,
Mm.
mindfulness in the moment, stillness in the body. Okay, relaxation, physical, mental, and keeping yourself in the now. So if we add in, this is why I used to call my events sound meditation events as opposed to sound healing. And I found this made it much more accessible for people to actually get what it is, and it's not woo woo.
Yeah, the woo
It,
woo
it
part.
is
You're right.
it is actually grounded in a lot of science and a lot of evidence and studies that support the benefits of meditation. So when we add sound on top of that, the way I will introduce most of my events is to say, there's a number of ways that we can try and be in the now. We can focus on our breath. That's the classical form. We could focus on something in our body, on a physical sensation, or we can introduce a sound, something pleasing, something soothing, something rhythmic that's naturally going to entrain your brain waves into a slower pattern to encourage if you're talking about a rhythmic sound, like a drum beat, for instance, a drum pattern. So I will quite deliberately use patterns around 60 beats per minute, which is what you want a relaxed heart rate to sit at. So a lot of my recordings will sit at 55, 60, 65. It's very deliberate
Yeah.
because when you hear a certain pattern and a rhythm, the body naturally, by the process of entrainment, principles of entrainment, will attempt to match that rhythm. So as a sound healer, when we know what those soothing natural rhythms are, we provide that for our people, our clients, our guests, knowing that their bodies are going to meet us at that rhythm. So now, before we've even made much sound, we're talking about slowing down the heart rate, you're deepening the breath, you're slowing down the respiration. When these things happen, the body's natural relaxation response, that's what it's called, kicks in. And from there, the brain goes, oh, we're relaxing. What else do I need to do? All right, let's relax the muscles. Maybe we'll release some serotonin. Maybe we'll release some oxytocin. So then the body's neuroendocrine system starts to kick in and supports that relaxation response chemically. So you see there's a lot going on here. So while all this is happening, as a sound healing practitioner, my guidance is if you find your mind drifting off, pay attention to the sound. Pay attention to how it sounds to your ears, but more than that, pay attention to how it feels in your skin. Pay attention to the vibrations. Pay attention to what emotions might be invited in by this soundscape. And so by giving people something to put their mind to be mindful of, other regular thoughts, stress, worry, anxiety, depression, so on, will naturally fade into the background. And before you know it, they're either in a deeply relaxed state, or maybe they're asleep, or maybe they're connecting with, Goddess Ganesha in the spiritual realm. People have all sorts of wild and wonderful experiences. It cannot be predicted. But what can be predicted is that soothing sound done in an intelligent and intuitive way provides a wonderful space for people to more easily get into a relaxed state. And when the body is in its relaxed state, the immune system goes, woohoo,
Yeah.
now
Almost
I'm
like,
going to release some healing chemicals, right?
yeah.
So this is where the magic, and I think this is where the phrase sound healing can be misleading. So coming back to that, it's not the sound that heals. It's the sound creates the space for you to heal yourself. Because you know what? As a human being, you're abundantly and incredibly capable of healing yourself, but you need to be relaxed to do that. If we're in a highly stressed state, a beta wave state, a high cortisol state, the body's in fight or flight, you're in survival mode. No healing occurs in that state. So
Yeah.
any practice that helps you relax physically or mentally, your immune system's going to go, yes, now I'm going to do the work that I'm beautifully and incredibly and divinely designed to do.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question?
No, the thing I love about you is that you just explain things. I don't know now if it's the training or the music, but now it's obviously together. But you explain things in a way that I've been doing this for 15 years that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
And so I just want to
Well,
first say that
thank you.
you need to maybe do more videos on Instagram about this thing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I
Because
mean, look,
I feel like I've learned a lot just by talking to you already.
Good. I mean, look, I have done a lot of training. My first 6-month course was a course by correspondence with a sound healing college in the UK. I also flew over and did an in-person sound healing intensive with one of the pioneers of sound healing in America, Jonathan Goldman, who's the chant master over there. But also the experience of working with 90 other practitioners from around the world over at that conference was incredibly enriching. And then I've also studied with Tibetan sound healing with Lama Tenda.
Oh
So
wow.
really discovered their beautiful way of visualizing and their mantra-based and prayer-based healing with singing bowls. I also had the opportunity to do a course called the Yoga of Sound, which was a local lady who also works internationally. And she really invigorated and exposed me to the beauty of Vedic mantras and Sanskrit mantras, and sort of infused that into my life. So there's been a lot of things that I've done, and I think as a sound healer, if you really want to call yourself that, and it used to be a pet peeve. I don't really worry about it
Yeah.
much
Can I
anymore.
can I
But there are
explain to you? Can I explain to you? Because what I did, and I want you just tell me what you think then happened. Is that so? I discovered, Rife therapy, which is again, it's a frequency. So I don't know if that
okay.
falls under what you're talking about. And so
Sure.
I want to. They were in San Francisco, and I told them about my problem, which was my nerves dying. So they designed a program for me that was based on all the nerves and tendons and muscles in that area. And what I
Yep.
had to do is I had to put the headphones on that part of the body and play the vibration frequency.
Yep.
And I could literally feel I don't know if this is going to sound weird, but I could feel the nerves connecting because my body was feeling that. And so was
Yeah.
that me doing it because I was also relaxed? Or do you think the sound was doing it? Because I thought it
Look,
was the sound.
possibly both. I would say definitely both. And when I said that sound doesn't heal, that's not entirely true. I mean, as you've just raised, there is a lot of
Frequency,
theory
yeah.
to suggest that particular frequencies resonate with specific nerves, tendons, muscles, and organs within the body. And so I have studied that aspect of sound healing as well. But what I've found, and forgive me, I think this is where the male and female brain often falls into two camps. Men want the answer, they want the reason, they want the
Yes.
fact. Women just kind of need to understand collectively how something works together. So I found, even when I went over to that course in Colorado, that there were a couple of guys there that were so friggin' fixated on 432 hertz, the Schumann frequency and all of this, and people who know frequency will know this. And they were obsessed with producing this perfect frequency. And I sort of just gently raised the possibility. I said, okay, I get that that's, you know, loosely the heart chakra frequency, or is supposed to be. I said, but every human being on this planet is unique. And that exact frequency isn't going to work for everybody. Maybe your
Yeah.
heart frequency is 436.
Yeah.
Maybe mine is, 509. And so there needs to be some room for flexibility. And that's where the intuitive knowing comes in.
Yeah.
So, I've done the training and I know, yep, there are certain sounds and vibrations and phrases and mantras that we believe, generally speaking, will work with the chakra centers and the organs and so on. As a trained practitioner, it's important that I also apply my intuitive knowing in that moment with that person, with that group on that day, and go, yes, but this is going to work.
Yeah. That's why.
So
That's why you're on. That's why I'm
I use
interviewing you,
both.
because
Yeah,
you highlighted that point. Is that a lot? I think what you said about the solution is so true. I've got in the men's group. That's what they asked for, and that's why I made a decision that in 2021 I was going to interview more women
yeah,
because I wanted that energy to come in, and you just totally highlighted it perfectly.
yeah.
um, so staying on that point, like 2021 sound therapy, solution versus feeling. How do you feel we were at in regards to accepting this therapy? And do you feel that men are becoming more interested? Are you seeing more men at your big groups, or are you hearing them changing their dialogue?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the early days, the only men that would ever come along were partners or friends or brothers of people who were at the events. Um, but more and more, I think uh, there's more information in the mainstream about the benefits of sound healing. I would say we're on the trajectory to be as accepted as yoga is now.
Okay, that's good.
I don't know anyone that would say, "Oh, yoga, what's that?" Like we all know what it is, whether you do it or not. You understand it's breathing and meditative movement and so on. So I think more and more people are really accepting what sound healing and sound journeys are, and the benefits, at the very least, are that you'll come out more relaxed than when you went in.
Yeah,
Anything else really is a bonus. And I do try and reset people's expectations. There's no miracle cure here. But anything that helps you feel better about yourself or in your body is going to help. It is good. Why would you
yeah.
not want to do that? As to where men fit in that, um, I think I've had quite a few men presenting with PTSD,
Okay.
who would either contact me prior or just before the event and say that their therapists or psychologists had recommended doing something like that, because sometimes talking therapies or even physical therapies can be more triggering.
Yeah, especially
And
with that,
one of
especially with
the
that problem.
yeah, and one of the benefits of sound therapy, I'm going to call it, is that nobody has to touch you. And you can be in your own space. And even, like now I'm offering events online. You can even stay in your own lounge room, but still experience that benefit without triggering yourself into a state of anxiety or insecurity or not having the right space around you or whatever it is that makes PTSD challenging for people. So um, that's been great. And I always love having men coming into the group, particularly because in the second half of my events, and this is probably something a little unique to what I offer in my workshops, is that I hold a chanting circle. So generally speaking, most men will have a deeper voice than women. And it's so amazingly
Oh,
beautifully supportive and earthing and grounding when you have, you hear this deep booming
mm,
whoa, coming out under what is mostly often a female group. So it's always a delight for me because I know the group benefits from that balance, that yin to the yang and the deep to the light. So not to say that women don't also have deep voices and men don't
yeah,
also have high voices, but, just a generalization. Um, so yeah, I'm loving it. And I'm definitely
wow,
seeing men used to be like hen's teeth in the beginning, but now
well,
it's probably about 25%.
yeah. Because you
Um,
said you said you used that word before, the woo woo, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
and so
There's a lot of woo woo out there.
there, there,
I'm in the industry of woo woo, so
yeah, but
I
see,
try not to be that.
I used to think woo woo was 15 years ago, but I think now there's a lot more acceptance. So, what is there anything in particular, and this could be male or female, okay? Because I really want this podcast to encourage people to try something that they
Sure.
might see as scary. What do you think's holding them back, and what do you think would help them to let that go? To try it, to not look at it as something that you have to. A lot of people think that they have to be, um, they have to be more grounded or more spiritual to try it, and then they reject it. But in reality, you
Yep.
would accept a beginner, wouldn't you? You would accept anyone to come in.
Anyone. Yes. And I think that's the other reason why I attract a different tribe to my events. And the people that come to my events aren't wearing all natural fibers. They're not all vegans or vegetarians. They don't necessarily like chai tea. I hate chai tea.
Me too.
They don't.
Me too.
You don't have to burn incense. You don't have to know whether the moon is full or half or whatever. You don't have to be into astrology or any of that.
Yeah.
All you have to be is interested in relaxing.
Mm.
That's it. That's the only price of admission, and I've become better at prefacing all my events. And in fact, I've stopped calling it even sound meditation now. I've moved to the phrase sound immersion. So taking even away any obligation or expectation that, oh, well, if I can't meditate, then I can't go.
Yeah.
Wrong.
That's
No,
good.
you don't
That's good.
you don't have to know how to meditate. You don't have to sit cross-legged. Okay.
Mm.
You don't have to lie down. You don't have to sit up. Like you just do you in the confines of your yoga mat, and I guide people come to these events for all different reasons. Maybe you come to meditate. Maybe you're just here to chill out. Maybe you want to lie down and have a nap. Maybe you don't want to lie down in a room full of strangers and you want to stay seated and you want to watch me. That's okay. That's not my first suggestion, because if people are watching me, then their attention is on me and not on their own experience. But I've become more aware that for some people, just being out of their house is a big thing.
Mm.
And I started one of my events the other day by saying, if you think that you had anything to do when you got here, you've already done it. You've arrived.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Whatever else happens while you're here is
It's a
up
gift.
to you.
Yeah.
Is up to you. It's up to you. You can engage as fully or as lightly as you want. And, I'm simply the guide to give people suggestions on how they might relax their body, how they might relax their mind.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's up to everybody to have their own experience with it and to understand there's no right way.
Mm.
There's no, predictable result, other than my intention for everyone who walks in the door is that you leave better than when you arrived. And
Yeah.
that's it. Anything else is bonus.
Yeah. I'm sure there's like a lot, but I'm just wondering, have you, you've mentioned already PTSD and all that, but have people come up to you, which I'm sure they have, saying to you, "Oh my God, my anxiety's gone," or "I don't feel as depressed." So because I just want to tie it all
Yeah.
in, so people know
Yeah.
I'm not just going there to lie down and relax. I can actually go there and I can heal.
Yeah, look, you can. And I'll share a few stories. And look, they are just anecdotal stories. I have no scientific evidence to back this up. I can just, share with you what these people shared with me. So in the early days, I had a one man who used to come to every event. I was doing regular events in Brunswick, and he had a multitude of health problems that caused him great pain most of the time. So he was just in chronic pain. And he would say that at the end of the 2-hour session with me, that he was pain free.
Wow.
And for anyone who's experienced chronic pain for any period of their life, any relief from pain, non-medicated, seems like a friggin' miracle, So for him, it was a wonderful experience. Now, that state of being might last him an hour, it might last him 2 hours, it might last him the rest of the day.
Yeah,
But
it works for him.
But while he was there, he was like, it takes my pain away.
Yeah.
So that was one story. Another story was a woman who she'd come to about 5 sessions, and she was very, very resistant to do the chanting in the group for a while. But over time and every month, she would come back and feel more comfortable with it. We encourage people to use their voice and so on. So about 5 months later, she comes up to me. She goes, "I have to share something with you." She said, "I'm in the role of work that I'm in. My boss has asked me to start holding meetings, and it's not something I'm very good at or comfortable with." He said, "But my boss came up to me the other day and said, 'Wow, did you go away and do a course
Wow.
or do something to do with your speaking, because I, really feel like you've stepped up in your skills with holding the meeting. And she said, Katie, the only thing that has changed
Did
is
you?
me coming to the group, being in circle, and feeling more confident in having a voice, and that really helped her in her public speaking skills in her workplace. So totally unexpected benefit, but she said I had to tell you because maybe that's something you can share with other people. So it's one of those things that and this is why it's difficult for me to put down the benefits of sound healing, sound meditation on a flyer and market that as fact, because it's so hugely
In-
variable
Yeah, it's
from person to
individual.
person. But definitely people have presented who um, experience depression, and after a 2-hour session of meditation, relaxation, and chanting, their body's natural endorphins have kicked in to such a point they're like, I just feel good when I
Yeah,
come here.
yeah,
And again, maybe they get relief from their symptoms for hours or even days or even half the month before they think, oh, I can't wait to get back to that event and feel that way again.
yeah.
And to do this practice in a way that's you're not having to medicate. I'm not against medication. I take it myself when I need to. But, by and large, I try and engage in therapies and practices that don't require medication, that's mainly based in, fitness, meditation, nutrition, to support
Mm.
myself as best I can. So,
Yeah, I mean, like what you do, what you're sort of, what my belief is with my clients is that it's not about me; it's about the client. So if the client doesn't resonate with me, then they go and find something else. So what you're
yeah,
offering, because every time I do a sound healing, whatever it may be, I always have an age regression. I
yeah,
always go back to childhood. So I
yeah.
find that when I leave the sound, meditation or what we want to call it, I
Mm,
always feel like I've resolved a childhood issue.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
as
look,
simple as
and,
possible. That's for
you know,
me.
everyone's on a different journey. I do find certainly, depending where you're at in your health journey, mental health journey, or spiritual journey, or maybe all three, um, that is what will dictate what you can potentially get out of it. So I think certainly the further along you go in your journey, you start moving past issues of, okay, I'm relieving chronic physical pain or emotional pain. Yeah, when you've dealt with those things, or those things you're able to manage otherwise, then the capacity to have profound spiritual insights, connections, experiences um, is possible. I'll share with you one last story, and this was really early on. I'd only been doing a handful of events, and this was when I was working in the drug and alcohol retreat. It was a small group, so only about 10 people, and no one had ever heard of sound healing before. I'm just like, well, lay down, I'll guide you through this and that. Anyway, about 15 minutes into the sound journey, so if you can imagine, everyone's lying down on the yoga mats, eyes are closed. I see this woman and she's starting to cry and tears are streaming down her face. Now, I'm in the middle of holding sound, and I know how to hold that space. I know I don't need to stop and console her. She's having her own experience. She was a 40-plus-year-old woman. She knows how to be with herself. But in that moment, I'm like, whoa, I don't know what's going on with her, but something's really going down. So then at the end, she was able to share with us. She goes, oh my God, Katie, I just can't even. She goes, I'm still recovering. She said, I was very, very close with my aunt, and she died when I was about 14, and I was unable to get to her before she passed. And so I was never able to connect with her. And I've always carried a sadness around that. She said, she just came through to me.
Oh my
And
god.
that was the crying, was her inability to cope with the profound sense of joy and connection, was overwhelmed her in that moment. She goes, I just feel so blessed. I feel like I finally made the connection that I needed to make with her. And like,
Yeah.
it was such a profound, I mean, I've got tingles in my body just
Yeah.
telling you about it. It was so real and so profound. She goes, I don't know how I can ever thank you. And I said,
Yeah.
well, what you've,
Yeah.
that's thanks enough. That's it. So look, people have had, incredible experiences like that. But of course, with every single event, and even if you've been, as you would know, Joe, even when you've been to 10 events, you can never imagine what the next event is going to
Yeah,
give you.
you can't have that.
Um,
I remember my teacher or mentor once said to me, because I had a really like amazing experience where I gravitated off the ground. I was spinning,
Yeah.
and I said, "Oh my god, I'll be here next week." And I was expecting that to happen again,
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
so annoyed. And he
Yeah.
was, I was annoyed. I got angry, and
Because
he
you get
said,
attached to the
"I
last
want my money back. I
experience.
want my money back."
Yeah. Yeah.
And he taught me to not attach. Yes. So
That's right.
can I quickly give
Yeah.
you one last story for me? So
Yeah.
I went to one. Also, it was very early in my learning of sound, and in the experience, I saw American flag, and I saw this
Mm.
flag over and over again, and I kept seeing the number two, right? And I was going in and out, sound, visions, da da da. Finished it, felt great. Then I was going to the National Gallery to see the exhibition that was on, and I was on the escalator, and I met these people that were from America, this couple who ended up being my teachers of sound in America.
Wow.
I know. So
Wow.
I sort of love that everyone can have their own experience. So I personally
Yeah.
really believe in sound as a gateway for me personally.
Yes. Yeah,
And
that's a
this
great way to put it.
yeah, and this is a great opportunity for many of our listeners who may not have heard of it to learn. So, Katie Underwood, you are the legend today. Thank you so much for teaching us a lot. I learned a lot about
Thank
that
you.
stuff.
I'm
So,
glad.
thank you. Now, do you have information I could post so people can find you? Could you
Sure.
maybe shoot that to
Yes.
me? And on below, guys, there's going to be all the information. So, if you're in Melbourne, you have opportunities to actually go into Katie's class, or you can do an online class. But I'm going to give all you
Yeah.
so you can learn from the best. So thanks for
Yeah. Thanks for chatting. And yeah, hope to see you in person at an event again soon.
you will. You've been listening to the Secret Means Business podcast. Now don't forget the podcast is out on Mondays and Thursdays at 9 a.m. Now click the like button below and subscribe so you can get all notifications. So see you all next time. Bye.